This is TWiT.
April is Google Mike is of course the last Google Plus user.
Yes.
Oh, April 3rd, isn't it? Is it April 3rd? Second? Oh,
it's coming up.
Yeah, I just got a thing saying save all my photos. Are you saving all your photos between Google Plus and Flickr? And what are you gonna do, man?
Oh man.
I already have all my photos, and there are multiple efforts so Google has its own process for downloading. I downloaded all my posts, and some of them I put a lot of work into, and they're very evergreen. So I'm probably going to repost them on my blog.
Good.
But we do have. I mean, like I said, I wrote in a Google Fast Company piece a couple of months ago. Most of what was great about Google Plus was killed in 2014. And so it's kind of been a shadow of itself for the last few years. So it's at this point no big loss to a certain extent. That's heresy in some circles. But the problem is a lot of passionate Google Plus users felt like this is the one social network I want to use. It's the only one I want to use. And all these smart people that I've gotten to know really well are here, and we have these great conversations, and everything was great. And now nobody knows where to go. Facebook's off the table because they're horrible. Twitter is annoying to a lot of people. And where else are you going to go? So people are going to, they're going to Plus Spora, and they're going to WeMe, and they're going to all these social networks nobody's heard of. But what's happening is that the Google Plus community is going off to 20 different social networks.
And so it's
diaspora.
It is a diaspora, but it's no longer. That means it's gone. It's being destroyed.
Right.
And I actually blame Google for this because they did create something of value. They really pitched it hard. A lot of people went all in. I mean, Mike, maybe it was ill-advised to put these full-length articles on Google Plus and nowhere else. But you did it because you believed in it and you really liked the conversations there. And how could Google just let that go? And this is why people no longer trust Google. They see this.
Okay. This feels like, and this drives me nuts. I mean, the web is it's no different than the rest of our lives. There are places I like to go and talk to people and hang out, and I spend my time, I put my effort in. I've worked at publications that have gone under, for example. There are coffee shops where I hang out with my friends and they are no longer around or someone moves. The world moves on. And I know this feels really mean, but I'm kind of like, it didn't work for them. They shut it down. Okay. If you want your own stuff,
you clearly weren't a Google Plus lover.
Well, I wasn't, but I've loved other things. Like, I mean, all of my GigaOM stuff, only half of it exists. I've lost my entire podcast catalog from GigaOM, and I'm like, all right.
That's life.
It's life.
I'll tell you why it hurts.
I mean, it hurts, but
I'll tell you why. We need something like that.
Do we, though?
Yeah, we do.
Because then we stagnate. I mean, then you go and create other communities. You take your ideas that you learn from other people, and then think about it in the physical world.
There is no analog in the physical world. If there were,
there's towns.
There's towns. Yeah, it's like a town has disappeared. That's a big deal.
Right, but those people left that town. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm saying these things happen in life, and you just have to accept it and put down your roots somewhere else and do it all over again. And that's what that's life, I guess. I
understand what you're saying.
The thing that has to be said, though, is that Google Plus, the original version from 2011 to 2014, to a lesser extent afterwards, was a really, really special social network. I mean, it was really every social network for some reason, I certainly have no idea why this is, has a certain zeitgeist, has a certain feel to it, a certain tone, a certain, Instagram is so different from Twitter or Facebook, even though it's owned by Facebook. And the essential nature of Google Plus, there were things that were achieved on that social network that you just are unheard of on other social networks. One of them is lots and lots and lots of people actually turned strangers into close friends in real life. And I'm one of those people. I have 15, 20 people who I go visit and who I know personally and who I didn't know until we started following them on Google Plus. You learn you have a lot in common. You have a lot, you gang up on trolls together. You do all this stuff. You do hangouts. And then they're great friends. I have people in Belgium, and like I went and stayed with a great friend that I met on Google Plus in Switzerland. You don't hear about that kind of stuff on Facebook. Basically, what you're doing is you're kind of hoovering up all the friends and acquaintances and coworkers you've ever had, and maintaining some superficial connection with them. On Google Plus, you're like, everybody was a stranger because nobody's family was on there really to speak of. And you make these great friends. I don't know why that was the case. We used to have these things called hurls, hangouts in real life, essentially meetups. And I've never heard of a social network that was so conducive to real world friendships.
People had, in the early days of Twitter, and it stopped soon, but in the early days of Twitter, there were tweet ups. And it was very much like that. But Twitter became mass appeal, and that ruined it. And I think one of the reasons Google Plus was great is because it wasn't very successful. And
exactly, it was,
the people who were there were great. But yeah. Are there lessons to be learned from this?
Google can't do social, no matter how much. I would submit. I will not. I think we need to have I don't think we can trust any company to do this right.
Get a WordPress blog and do it yourself?
Well, but that's not social ultimately. It's only a little bit social. I mean, honestly, and it's been tried, and this is, so I know my solution isn't a good solution, but we need a federated, open network that, and, we had hopes that, Identica, then StatusNet, then Mastodon would be that. They have the right backbone, but somehow those communities never gelled properly. But that's how it has to be, because if a company's in charge of it, all sorts, A, they could kill it, but B, they start monetizing. Instagram was a great social network until they put an ad every 9th post, and they started adding all these features like stories, and the influencers. As soon as the influencers arrived, Instagram went way downhill.
What about something like Pinterest?
Yeah, maybe Pinterest is the answer. I don't know.
I mean, it's a high quality. Is it very social? I'm trying to.
Pinterest feels more like people put stuff there, but it doesn't feel like there's interaction.
Yeah.
As much, yeah. Right. It's a
and
scrapbook.
Maybe that's the problem. It's where people interact become cesspits. That's not a crazy idea.
I keep wishing Mastodon would succeed because from a technical point of view, it's the right thing. Nobody owns it. It's federated. You can create your own server. But the communities that have been created on Mastodon, I haven't found one that really attracts me at this point.
Yeah. The problem is that every social network is either a failure, in which case it's not worth using because nobody's on it, or if it's successful, they will ruin it in order to squeeze every nickel out of it.
That's why it can't be commercial.
Those are the only two social networks we've ever seen. Google Plus was different for a while. I mean, people say it wasn't popular, and I mean, it's way more popular than lots of other social networks that have emerged since that people think are popular.
It had great features, though. Like, unlike Mastodon, which really is a Twitter clone, it was a threaded conversation clone. It was great with images. People like Trey Ratcliffe showed that it became a fabulous place to put your images. Google mismanaged it almost from day one, establishing this crazy circle system that no one wanted to maintain. And then, I mean, they killed it death by 1,000 cuts. And it's tragic, and it's a really good example of why Google or any company shouldn't be in charge of social, and yet no one's done any. I wish they, what Google?
Slack?
Open source. Yeah, Slack for
like
many
Slack
people has turned into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's it.
And you know what? I would say we had the former Giga-omers, we took our Slack channel at the end of the show, or at the end of the company.
Do you still do it?
It actually still is alive. Yeah. And for the year afterwards, we actually even paid for our own private Slack. And we did it because we had a lot of value in it. And
Slack's such a pig as an application. It's hard to support it. There's
I'm like,
no. It's just a terrible. I mean, it's written in Electron, and it's just big and heavy. And it needs. I don't know what it. I don't. It's not bad. I mean, and I know people are doing it. Discord is another very popular social network.
Can I propose? I have to say something about.
Yes, let me just say this before you do,
yeah.
which is Google. Please open source Google Plus and let us take it back. Okay.
The tragedy is that we already have the world's greatest social network, which is email. And the reason that nobody wants to use email for social networking is because they've lost control of their inboxes. Lots and lots of people have 20,000 messages in their inboxes, and because they can't manage the spam and the hype and the thing, and the newsletters and all that stuff, they're like, yeah, let's all go to Slack. This is the prevailing attitude, but it's mistaken. Everybody goes to Facebook, for example, because for a bunch of reasons, but the number one reason is network effects. Everybody's on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook, except everybody isn't on Facebook. Email, there are 3 or 4 times as many people on email.
Everybody is on email. Yeah.
Everybody's on email.
It's a terrible social experience.
I agree.
That's like saying.
In what way, though? In what way exactly?
That's like saying chain letters are awesome for social experience.
But in what way is it? It's exactly what Leo's talking about. It's an open system. You can use your own front end. You can use this, that, the other thing.
But you can't communicate easily with people. You can't see it. The conversations, when they're threaded the way email threads them, are horrible. You can't.
Actually, maybe it's just we need a better client. Maybe the client could solve it.
That's exactly right.
No, because then you would still split your email. So then you would just take your email identity, but you still have to split them out. Like, I don't want to communicate with my friends over email because that's a professional.
Inbox. There you go. There's a solution. Why don't we?
The one they're killing.
That's dead. Okay.